You're listening to the Surgeons of Horror podcast.
Where are you gonna go? Where are you gonna run? Where are you gonna hide? Nowhere. Because there's no one like you left.
Hello, welcome to the Surgeons of Horror podcast. Its purpose is to dissect and discuss horror films, both old and new. Before we begin today's podcast, I should introduce myself. I'm your host, Saul Muerte. Hello, and I'm joined by the Big Cheese, Anthony Yee.
G'day.
Hey, buddy, welcome on board.
Thank you, Saul.
That's so we're deviating slightly because we've been going through the whole George Romero stuff of late, but we're deviating away from that because 40 years ago, a science fiction horror film was released starring Donald Sutherland, which was a remake. And it was called Invasion of the Body Snatchers. And
Leonard Nimoy was in it too.
Leonard Nimoy,
yes,
doing his best non-Spock impression.
Jeff Goldblum. He was doing his Leonard Nimoy documentary voiceover guy.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was. And Jeff Goldblum was being Jeff Goldblum in it.
Jeff Goldblum. Things up in the middle of sentences.
Something in the mud. Did you see the bubbling?
It's very weird. No, sorry.
It's a William Shatner school of acting.
Pausing inappropriately. I keep going when they should have stopped. Anyway, but
So look, 40 years ago, 1978, that film came out, which prompted me to go, Actually, I do remember that being a really cool movie. It's been dubbed as, and this is something we'll talk about. It's been dubbed as one of the best remakes ever, of which we go, The Thing.
Yeah. But it is a zeitgeist film.
Yes, exactly.
The expression of people came from this film, which I'm sure you've probably heard in some form or another.
Yeah, that's right.
Pointing and screaming at somebody.
Yeah.
Is a...
And even there's been countless takeoffs of that, which has happened, and in IT crowds, they have an episode where they do that too.
Right, yeah. They're doing The Simpsons, aren't they?
Yeah, it's become quite a pop culture moment. Yeah. And we will talk about the 1978 film, but obviously I'm saying it's a remake, so I just thought, hold on, let's look at the film that kicked it off, which was called Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
It's like how the Thing sequel is called The Thing.
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't know where they get these original titles from. It's bizarre.
And it's based on a book.
Yes, exactly. So before we get to that, so the movie was the original movie was in 1956 that was released, and you're right, it was based on a book by Jack Finney, which was quite a big popular science fiction film. Just a year before that, in 1955, it was released. Right. So it was one of those ones that just made such a big impact that it was, Hollywood Times was like, that would make a great movie.
But they released it as a double feature, I think.
The original film?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, we'll have to look that up. But
yeah, let's talk about it.
Yeah, so that's what I thought I'd do. So, and what I thought, because, yes, you're right, it is based on the book, but I thought what we would do is talk about, and I've read the book recently for the podcast. Yeah. So what I thought we'd do is, as we're talking about the movie, I will talk about the similarities to the book and differences and stuff. We'll talk about the movie, then we'll talk about the 1978 classic, and then we will talk about the other movie that was released in 1993.
3, 4, 7.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Which was called The Body Snatchers.
So this is Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Yeah.
Became Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Yeah.
Became Body Snatchers.
And then it became Snatch, and it was directed by Guy Ritchie.
And then in 2007 it became Invasion.
Yes,
and there's going to be a new remake called Of the.
But we're going to deliberately ignore the Invasion because it's shit. No, it's not a very good movie, but also
got scratch sound effect.
but it's not just that, because yes, the Invasion was originally intended to be a remake, but the creatives went in a different direction.
They did.
So yes, it was the inspiration for the film, but I'm kind of ignoring that as part of the.
It's fair enough, because when I watched it, I didn't know this.
Yeah.
I was thinking, this sounds very similar to this film I saw in the 90s called Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and it sort of is, but it sort of wasn't.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So that's the plan. So do stick with us as we go through that. But let's take a look. I mean, obviously, the original film, 1956, big kind of sci-fi horror fiction film, and we're talking around the same kind of time when your big kind of B horror movie creature features were shown on the duplex.
The Thing, Them.
All of that, all of those things, and so it fits quite perfectly in that kind of genre of when it's released. And it starred Kevin McCarthy.
Yes, now here we go. This guy. He's the perennial, that guy.
Yes.
But if you watch movies or TV in the 70s and the 80s.
Any of those.
He is the classic, that guy.
Yeah.
The biggest role for him was he was the bad guy in Inner Space.
Jesus.
Yeah.
You're right, and I completely had not pictured that until you just said it.
Yeah.
But he's one of those guys. He's just. I mean, you can Google this guy. He's been a lot.
That guy. But this point in his life, and this is the Indiana Jones phenomena.
Yeah.
Because you don't realise how many. You always think the films that you see. I did anyway. The 70s and 80s. They were the originals, even if you're told they're remakes. You don't take into the fact that an old man in an 80s film probably had a huge career back then.
Yeah, that's right.
This guy's a great example of that because we're seeing a young version of him in this film.
Yes.
And he's square-jawed and good-looking.
Yeah.
He was about 42, I think, when he did this film.
Yeah, probably.
But he looks like he's in his mid-30s.
Yes.
And I get, I get it. He's a leading man. But this is about as big as it got from him. Although I think,
as far as leading, so like he would, you're right. He's been in like countless things. Like to me, I remember him from Piranha, which was the Joe Dante kind of B movie flick, and he plays a bit of a psycho kind of character in that. And
we always know him as the older man.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, a lot older by that point. And he also cameos in the 1978 film as well.
He does too.
But we'll get to that.
That's what, again, McCarthy, you get that, you realise, okay, at this point in his life, and for people in the zeitgeist, this guy is a leading man.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's right. So look, I think the best, when we, to move away from Mr. McCarthy, and so in the film he's the lead, and he plays Dr. Miles Bennell, he's got that whole kind of very square jaw, kind of all American look.
The heroes at this point, like in America, all the heroes, leading men, are square jaw dudes who wear suits, and how well dressed was everybody in the 50s?
Gotta look sharp.
I was watching it with my wife, and I was the comment, nobody wears a t-shirt.
No.
Everybody just going out to the shops.
Yeah.
Women were dressed to the nines.
Not unless you were rebelling.
Yeah, that's you being a James Dean.
Yeah. Or Marlon Brando, Wild Ones kind of set up. So it's like
everybody's so well dressed.
Yeah.
But he's that's your hero. The science fiction films, the like science spaceships were crewed by scientists.
Yes.
And respectable jobs in society. He's leading men with doctors.
Yeah.
Scientists.
That's right. Yeah.
And then the phenomena came sort of like 79, late 70s, when the oil rig people in Alien.
Yeah.
They were going to be scientists and became oil rig drivers. They became truck drivers.
Yeah.
And James Cameron did that with Abyss. The Abyss originally, when he wrote as a kid, because as a teenager going out watching his films, they were scientists who've come across an alien civilization under the water. He changed them literally to oil rig people.
Yeah.
So then the leading men became blue collar guys, everyday guys, and no nonsense guys. The new era now for leading men is geek as chic. Daniel Radcliffe, Harry Potter, the Doctor, Dorks. That's in there.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I was just noticing how, again, the Gene Roddenberry when he pitched Star Trek, it was wagon train to the stars.
Yeah.
So Kirk is a square jawed guy. He knocks a guy out if he gets, punches his way out out of problems. And even though this guy doesn't punch his way out, McCarthy, he's still American. Yeah,
because like in the book they do play on that, the fact that because it's told from the Doctor's POV, and he even admits that he doesn't have the physical strength.
Right.
So when he's up against these characters in it, he does have these moments where he's trying to weigh up the scenario and go, what does that mean? I could probably deck that guy, but I probably wouldn't be able to knock him out.
Yeah.
But I've still got these two other big guys, and there's no way I'm going to overpower them. So he has to use his smarts in order to not his strengths, and so that comes down to the science thing that you were talking about as well. So it is interesting seeing that, and and they do stick, and that's something I would say about this version of the film, the story, is that it does stick very closely to the book.
Okay.
And the movie, I don't know about you, but to me it felt like a very film noir-esque. It's got that kind of very detective kind of approach to it.
Stuff out.
Yeah, and it's very similar to the movies we were talking about of the time, but it's got that kind of even the narrative in it feels like it's steered in this kind of I'm going to research this and find my way out, and
it has tropes like there's a bit where he and the bullying girl are trapped, and the bad guys have trapped him so they can stay and become popular.
Yeah.
And he literally comes up with a plan to inject them with 3 men, 3 needles, and you see him literally load all 3 needles.
Yes.
One after the other.
Yeah.
It's got the other thing of everything still feels like a set.
Yes.
It's very flat coverage. They walk left to right against the set. The camera moves left to right.
Do you remember the Hammer horror days?
Yes, it's very Hammer horror. A set literally was the fourth wall removed. You put your camera there, shoot everything.
Yeah, that's right.
It's not, again, back then you don't have the technology to go in, follow.
That's right.
And, I mean, it has interesting camera angles and so on and so forth. And it almost feels like 2 people come in to talk. You see them talk side on. Then you do the shot reverse over the shoulder.
Yep.
It's sometimes clean, but it is shooting their reaction against the other person's reaction, and that's just standard camera.
Yeah.
So that was the other big feel I got. Used a lot of dissolves, which was really big back then.
Yeah, that's right.
Which doesn't really happen anymore. Probably make a comeback at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, dissolves are really big because that was the feel of those films back then to convey we're going from one scene to another.
That's right.
So it's just interesting. The whole vibe of it feels like a very it could have been a detective story. It's just got a sci-fi.
Yeah, that's how it felt to me. It felt like, and it's also, it's just the way, as I said, the narrative was told. Well, it has that feel to it, and then when you read the book, it feels like that too.
Right.
So that's what I mean. It does feel very closely. I kind of watched the movie, then read the book, so I kind of did it in that order. But as I was reading the book, I went, I can see where they've drawn this stuff from, right. And there is a noticeable difference in it, right in its conclusion. But we'll get to that when we come to the conclusion of the film. And what we haven't mentioned is actually what the film's about.
Come on, kids. Yeah, fair.
So we should say, like you were talking about the pod people thing, and that is where it was born out from this movie, from the book, essentially. But the essence of it being alien life forms that land on the planet Earth, and they can mimic and form human life. Yeah.
So they fly as seeds.
Yeah.
Land and become giant pods.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the big. And then those pods effectively become you.
Yeah.
You die. Literally become sucked up.
Yeah.
Your memories and everything else become this new person.
Yep.
And this person effectively is you, which is not something that's stressed enough. And I want to talk to you about the philosophical implications of becoming a pod person.
Yeah.
But effectively, this person is a duplicate of you. They've absorbed all traces of your memories and memories, so they're basically a copy of you.
That's right.
Where they're different is they don't have emotions.
That's exactly it.
And they work as a hive mind.
Yeah.
Effectively. Every film confused the hell out of me as to how the mechanics of this thing work.
Yeah.
The 78 film confuses me. This film, not so straightforward.
Yeah.
The first film that actually made it really clear as to how the mechanics of these pod things take over you was the 93
one, which is, I know you've got a bit of a softer spot for that one.
I do. When I resaw it for this podcast, I was like, it didn't age that well. But yeah, I did.
That was my memory of it being quite, I know we're jumping ahead, but my memory of it before I rewatched it, and I don't know if my thoughts have changed, was about, it did feel telemovie to me.
Yeah. Right.
When I rewatched it, I was like, it's still got that kind of telemovie kind of feel to it. It doesn't feel like a feature film to me.
It's the shorter of the three.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
and it felt it. Like the other two didn't feel like. Okay,
but then, and that was also part of its strength, though, because it peppered along quite nicely.
Yeah.
And we'll get to those.
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
But in terms of the mechanics of what it does, that's effectively what it does.
Mm-hmm.
You become a husk, although that wasn't shown so much in the first film.
No.
But it kills the old you effectively become reborn as a new you.
Yeah.
With a hive mind, no emotions.
Yeah. Because I know what you mean about the mechanics of it too. Because that was the bit I struggled about was the original you, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because sure, this thing, right. Let's move away from the realms of disbelief for a second, and play along with the narrative of the science fiction that we're doing, and that these entities create a clone copy of you.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, that's fine. I get that. I can buy that, right? As a story. Where I find myself struggling is the real you bit. So how does that impact the real you that you end up become dissolved into nothing?
Yeah.
I can never get my head around that part of it.
Well, the way that they will pitch it, the way I understood it, they'll pitch it to you.
Yeah.
Is that this is a chance for you to become a better person.
Yes.
So you don't die. You become an improved version.
Yeah,
of you.
well, yeah, that's right.
That's how they'll pitch it.
Yeah.
And I gotta admit, the pitch is really interesting. Because part of me thought, hang on, hive mind, everybody cooperates. Lose jealousy, lose anxiety, lose fear. Would you say no straight away? That's for another podcast straight off. Because then it becomes, because of the bigger grand scale of things, it's communism versus...
Yeah.
And all that, and ironically enough, people also saw it as a version of McCarthyism. This whole thematic.
I know, I was about to say that, because
it's the opposite of communism.
Yeah.
So it just shows how extreme fascism and extreme communism can be the same thing. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But that's how they pitched it to you, and I think and it's another version of the thing where you become copied.
Yeah.
And duplicate. And then
I'm glad you mentioned
and then Kurt Russell and John Carpenter discussed it during the making of the thing was. You wouldn't know. How would you know that you're a duplicate?
No.
And I think the mechanics of the way they did it in the film was you don't know until you're triggered.
Yeah.
You think you honestly are Paul Farrell until you're under threat, and the scene will take over you, and you stop being Paul Farrell and you stop being the thing.
Yeah.
And then it's not a question of whether you knew or not. You now become the thing.
Yeah.
And I think, again, and this is interesting too, particularly when we are jumping ahead, but when people get taken over by usually it's the lead girl. Taken over in the first two movies.
Yes.
The first thing they say to the lead man to introduce him to become one of these things is they were right.
Yeah.
This is so much better.
Yeah.
And I think that is really interesting. Because everybody assumes, okay, that's the alien, that's wrong, we don't want to do that. It's like becoming a vampire.
Yeah.
If you became a vampire, willingly or not, you've become an immortal being who's quite strong.
Yes.
And all that. It's not completely shit. Just saying. It's not complete shit. Okay, what is a soul? You lose your soul, you individual? I don't know. But if you lose something that you don't have, anyway, it's really interesting. I'm not saying...
No, I completely get what you're saying, but then, I mean, we could debate this.
Yeah.
And this could be the podcast. But it's the essence of what humanity is, right? And that's what we're talking about. But if you strip away emotions... Are you still human?
Yes, exactly. The other extra caveat to that is they tend to get worked up, these aliens, when they think you're not one of them. So I think, well, for people without emotions, I'm kind of upset. Why do you give a shit? So, anyway. And that was the other thing, too, for me, that was the big thing that they're trying to avoid is becoming an emotionless robot.
Yeah.
Haha, communism, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And the way all the leagues in all three films try to get out of it is to blend in, acting like an emotionless robot.
Exactly.
In the first film, I couldn't really see much of a difference between the emotionless pod people and...
What are you saying?
In the sense that they were acting normal, they were just acting suspicious, which again is...
Yeah, see this is the thing though, like, because when the 50s movies were made... There is a certain type of way that you act, right?
Right.
And you see it. You can watch lots of these,
the way they
and
talk
and that's because they're schooled that way.
Yeah.
So, I question when you're then asked to not be that way, that they struggle with doing that because it's built in them to act a certain way.
Right. Okay.
Especially if, like, because I've gone through. Drama schools and stuff, right? And you're supposed to. The whole premise is that they build you down and build you up the X way of right? So if you do that with the whole kind of Hollywood school of thinking, like you need to look like this, you need to act like this, and you're supposed to fit this mold, and that's how you're going to be portrayed on screen, and you'll be known as, oh yeah, you're that guy that does that film, and you play those kind of movies, right. That's who you are. right? So even like they've become pod people in their own way, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I feel like this is where the 50s one trips itself up a bit because so when they're being told, okay, now you have to strip yourself of emotion, but you've still got to act. You've still got to show us you can act. Still got to be like, and so they're kind of caught in this between world where they can't be one or the other, and that is evident in that film. And I feel like they get trapped with it. Whereas, like, you know, when you hit the 70s, it's all about expression and
nailed the creepy factor. And that's what's really fucking.
Well, I think that's why, you know, and again we're jumping ahead, but I think that's why, again, when you look at the 70s version of the film, is why it's considered a good remake because they're allowed to explore those differences in a lot more detail.
Impact.
Yeah.
The whole thing, again, it's a very strong thing. My husband is not my husband.
Yeah.
It's a very powerful statement.
Yeah.
And it's something that's every day.
Yes.
Because it happens. People
change overnight, that's right, or change over a small period of time.
Or you're not the person I thought you were.
Yeah, that's right.
Very powerful.
And I like that too.
Yeah, I like that.
And the way, and it's even like, both the book and the 50s one actually explores that in like they... like the kid that goes, she's not my mum, she's not my mum. And like they dismisses it as like, he just had a.
And you would with anybody saying that, you would question their sanity.
Yeah,
of course, that's still your husband.
Yeah,
he's right there.
Yeah, and he looks like.
He looks like him. And that's the thing too. She's like, because in this movie, getting back to the first film, he's the female lead's friend.
Yes, that's right. That's how it gets. Yeah, that's how we first get introduced to this thing that's starting to happen.
Yeah, she tells that they're both widows, or both divorcees. That confused me. I thought she was married and was kissing her, and I was thinking, no, that's a bit raunchy. But no, the divorcees, and she says her friend says her uncle's not her uncle, and this guy, the doctor friend, goes over and says, yeah, of course he's his uncle, and she goes, look at him, he's so different, and he's mowing the lawn.
Yeah.
And he's kind of creepy, if anything, like a creepy uncle. Like But he's got weird expressions. He's kind of looks weird, but he's not a robot. He's unemotional.
No, that's right. That's right.
A weird, creepy uncle.
Yeah.
And that's it throughout the entire film. When people start to become pub people and trying to convince the two leads to become one of them, the big thing is they have a couple. It's interesting. For a while, it's two couples.
Yeah.
It's this doctor and his girlfriend and his
Dr. Miles, the lead, and his girlfriend Becky, and then you get his friend Jack, who's the writer, and his wife, who's they call her Teddy in it, Theodora,
and there's the two of them, for a while, and then Teddy and the writer guy become clones, and when Jack tries to convince him, he does so very aggressively, like he earnestly, whereas the way when this happens again in the 78 version, it's so much creepier. Yeah,
I do. See, there's differences like that really make it, I think. And like, so just because we just hit the just with the not that. Just with the thing with the we probably have that, but the thing with the friend Jack and his wife Teddy. Their story arc is different to the book than in this.
Right.
So it all happens the same way, but the conclusion's different.
Okay.
Right. So they're in it a lot longer in the book too. They're in that journey. So the stuff we see in the film that the two leads go through, the other two are kind of going through a similar journey themselves.
Right. Okay.
But we'll get to that because we'll try and nut through this, this one a little bit quickly. But so you're right. We get told about these little odd things that are happening with some of the townsfolk that's happening. They're slightly changing. They're not who they claim to be. Then we get the phone call from Jack, the rider friend. All he's saying is, "Come over to my house. You've got to see this." And when they go over there, there's a body there, and the body is about the same weight and height of Jack.
He's on the billiard table.
Doesn't quite look like Jack.
Yeah. Well, it's a weird thing.
And he doesn't have fingerprints.
Yes. Well, because he tells the lead dude, look under the blanket.
Yeah.
They'll put a bed cover or a sheet over him.
Yeah.
Pulls the sheet. Oh yeah, that's the other thing about these 50s films. The music is always these sort of
I'm sorry, lent on the organ.
Like unique music chords, which I heard a lot when I watched a lot of Godzilla.
Yeah.
So these particular chords played by an organ or trumpet.
That's what it feels like. Yeah.
I have expected to hear It was that same chord progression that they used in Godzilla films. Anyway, so the guy pulls up the sheet, and the way the angle coverage was, you didn't see this guy's face.
No.
So if you didn't know what was going on, it was just a body under the sheet.
Yeah.
Some knees and like big dramatic music chord. Okay, it's a body.
Yeah.
Why is he thinking it's weird? It's only through their discussion that they say he's not formed. But you never see it close.
No, you don't. Face. That's right, you don't.
And that's something peculiar about this particular style of filmmaking this series. They don't do insert cutaways that much.
No.
Because the other big one was later on in the film, somebody plants pods in the back of their car.
Yeah, yeah.
And he opens up the boot to throw them out, but because he suspects there's something in his car.
Yeah, yeah.
But the way the camera angle is, he opens up the boot, you can't see what... And because, again, musical plays, a dramatic finding, but you can't see what's in the car, the boot of the car, until he throws these two pods out.
Yeah, these things come... Yeah.
Yeah, so it was just
plastic things that he throws off.
Yeah. The coverage. And the thing is, too, these bodies are very plastic looking. They look like...
Yeah, they did.
Resuscitation dummies.
Yeah.
One version, though, did look kind of okay, which was Becky's. Is her name Becky?
Yeah.
Her first, she gets a duplicate at some point.
Yeah, that's right.
And hers looks kind of cool, because it is a cutaway.
Yeah.
And you only see her face for a second, but it's very smooth skin. And
yes, that's right. That's right.
But anyway, so back to the story. Yes, they found a body that's half formed.
But they at some point they try its fingerprints and it doesn't have any, so it's not formed properly, right?
Yeah,
but they deduced that because it's got the same height and build and weight as Jack, they're like, what's that about?
Yeah, that's weird.
You know,
Jack cuts his hand at some point.
And the thing forms the same cut
on his hand, which is also replicated later on in the 78 film.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
And I can't remember. So there's a point where they kind of talk about this body for a bit, don't they?
Yeah.
And then they, for some reason, the main guy and the girlfriend say, "We'll come back to you."
Yeah,
We're gonna leave you alone with the bodies.
He takes the girl home.
Yeah.
They go home.
Drops off to Dad.
And Dad's coming out of the basement.
Hey,
hello, you wacky kids.
Yeah. What are you doing down in the basement? Oh, just the project. Wanking.
That was really basic.
Yeah, it was. Oh, I loved it.
Yeah.
But no, he was just working on his project. But he acts a bit odd, but not that you pick it up because this is the first time we see him.
Yeah.
Right, so we don't draw that conclusion yet. And then, but the Doctor doesn't he go to bed?
He goes home.
And then he gets the call again from Jack.
Saying, it's formed.
It's formed.
And it's me.
And it's me, that's right.
Yeah, there's a cut on its hand, just like that.
And that is the way that happens. So, the reason I'm going vague with that, because that is the way it happens, isn't it? Because in the book, it's a bit more, they plan that. They kind of go, I'll tell you what we'll do. What we'll do is you go to sleep and Teddy stay up and watch it for me.
Right, okay. Yeah.
And just see what happens. Because they were thinking, is it, because they start to go, join the dots, is it going to be coming? You know?
Right, okay.
So I need you to watch the body. Yeah. And so that's why they leave, right? Yeah. And then, then he gets the phone call and it confirms his suspicions start getting confirmed. So, but that's not really explored in the film. It just is like they go away and come back.
Yeah.
And then they run away though. They run out.
They run away, and then for some reason,
when I say they, Jack and Teddy run out.
Right. And then for some reason, the lead guy looks down at his basement and suddenly puts 3 and 4 together.
Yeah, that's right.
And realises that Becky's in danger.
I know, and he goes tearing off in his nightgown and
in his car. And he breaks into the house.
I love the bit before that where he drives the car up onto the curb.
I didn't see that bit.
It's just really, I don't know, normally in those films, in those kind of when in that panic state, they still perfectly park the car.
Oh, right.
And jump out and run around. But, he actually careers it up onto the curb. And I remember going, oh.
That's real.
That's real.
Yeah.
He's probably fucked up his suspension on that car. But...
that build them tough.
That's right. Don't make them like they used to. But, he goes tearing in. He breaks into the basement. And he sees... That's where he sees that form... Becky for the first time. Yeah.
Freaks out, wakes her up.
Yeah.
She can't wake up. She carries out like a sack of potatoes.
Yeah.
Drives off. Goes home.
Yes,
and
that's right.
They're convinced now.
In the book, he doesn't have a car.
Right.
He runs across in his dressing gown and stuff, barefoot, and gets there. Still lifts her and carries her across, and then she starts vaguely waking up while he's walking away with her.
What a hero.
Yeah, What a guy.
And so they decide, he and Jack decide to go back.
Yes.
They've alerted a
policeman.
Another cop, or
is it detective?
Another psychologist.
Yeah. So the psychologist guy comes in. Yeah, Dr. Ben.
Somebody.
No.
He's the Spock character, effectively.
Yeah, exactly.
They go back to
Kaufman.
Jack's house, and sure enough, he was right here. The body's gone.
Yeah. And the Kaufman character just goes, it's just an epidemic of mass hysteria.
Yes. So straight away, again, and this is where these sort of films are brilliant, because you're thinking, hang on, has he been compromised?
Yeah.
Why is he? But then at the same time, well, if he wasn't compromised, he would still probably be saying the same thing.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It is clever. It is clever.
Yeah. They go back to find Becky's twin. She's gone.
Yeah.
That's when the
body's disappeared, and then the cop turns up at that point. Yeah.
Because the father woke up with a shotgun.
Yeah.
It's America.
Yeah. Get out of my house.
Yeah.
There's that bit where the gas man, I think that's later on, where the gas man turns up. Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Oh, cool.
So, yeah, at this point, and they wake up to the next morning in the dude's house, lead guy's house.
Yeah. And then they start getting a bit coupley at this point, don't they?
Yeah.
Not in a boom chicka wow wow sense.
No.
This is the 50s.
Yeah.
No sex until you're married. But they are kind of like doing the whole, I'll make you coffee, dear.
Yeah, basically.
While they're kind of politely talking about the scenarios that are occurring.
Yeah. And Jack comes in and she makes him a coffee. Thanks, love.
Yeah, that's right.
And then they decide to split up at this point.
Yeah, that's where they do split up.
Now, it's at this point that the lead dude notices there's 4 pods growing in his...
Yeah, that's it. Sorry.
greenhouse.
They're at the greenhouse.
Yes.
That's right. And so that's Dr. Bennell's, the main dude's greenhouse. And they notice there's the 4 pods that are growing that just turned up. Yeah.
And it's plastic resuscitation dummies.
Yeah.
Soaked, covered in soap.
Yeah.
Or bubbles.
Now we're talking. This party's getting interesting. So that's when they go, oh, yeah, we've got to get out of here. And then this is where they also kind of realise that a lot more of the townsfolk are...
Stuff would have been taken over now.
Yeah. And bodies are mysteriously disappearing, and this is where they all look like fluff. Is that right? Is that the one where they just look like bits of fluff? They keep or am I getting that confused with the 78
you never see the remains.
Oh, no, it's the 78 one, isn't it?
Yeah, 78.
Right, jumping ahead. But this is when they start realising that the devoid of humanity thing as well. They start pinpointing that that's how they can work out who's not human. Miles does, at one point he does try and call the authorities for help, but the phone operator's he's blocking him at this point. Yeah, that's also happens in the book as well.
Yeah.
Although it happens quite a few times in the book.
Yeah, it happens
as well.
Twice. I didn't quite get.
Once you know it happens once, you go. You think next time you try and call someone, it's the same thing that happens. Anyway. These were the days where they had phone operators. So,
which was the
explain that to the
central call Lieutenant Uhura's job.
Yeah,
she's effectively the phone operator on the Enterprise.
Yes,
because back then they couldn't conceive that everybody could just call each other directly.
Yeah. I'm thinking 9.
Why do you have a communications officer in the 23rd century? So at this point they split up from.
They split up. Yeah, that's right. So they go their separate ways. Not really explained why that happens, but
it's really dumb ideas. Like we'll catch up with you later.
That's right.
Numbers, but okay.
So then.
So Miles and Becky get chased.
Yeah, so they end up. Yeah, so Miles and Becky end up back at their doctor's office, right? And they lock themselves in for the night.
Yeah.
Because it's the only kind of sanctuary that they can find.
They wake up the next morning.
And then that's when the psychiatrist turns up.
Well, they notice. This is an interesting scene. They notice people in the town centre.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Frequently getting together.
Yeah.
And putting their pods in different cars.
That's right.
And this guy gets on the megaphone and yells out, if you're going to this region, collect your pods from
Yeah.
So it's all very organised.
Yes.
And very, very creepy. And it's done, it's kept in all 3 films.
Yeah. It's done, well, that's in the book too, where they get organised like that. They kind of go, and basically the way they do it, the way it's explained in the book is that if you've got family relatives in this town, step forward. Okay, great. You guys need to take a pod each.
Yeah.
And you're going to go over there, and that's how they effectively spread, right?
Yeah.
And that's how a virus spreads. That's how
like communism will spread.
Communism.
Yeah.
Well, if they hear it, if they hear it once, that's it.
You can't kill an idea.
Can you? Fly swatter?
Well, with a really big stick. Yes. That's all. You got to hit it from behind.
With poo on the end.
Yes.
Okay.
But yeah, and that's it's creepy.
Yeah, it
done
is.
really well, but it's done better in subsequent versions. I think.
Yes.
But then Jack comes back and he's taken over, and the psychiatrist gets taken over.
Back again.
And that's when they give him the pitch. This is actually a better life. You know, you just have to go to sleep. But and that's the thing too. And this is the Nightmare on Elm Street thing. Like they realise that sleep is the enemy.
Yeah, and I love that. Craven turned it into his own magic.
Yeah.
But as I was watching these again, I was just like, you'd be fucked.
Yeah.
Because humans have to sleep, right? And you know that if you do that,
your reality becomes a fucking nightmare.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
I love
it's a big weakness.
It is. It's huge. And it's one thing that transcends across all of them, but it's because it's such a good idea. So effectively, look, the main two, Miles and Becky, they kind of end up realising they're on their own.
Yeah.
Then you get the whole bit where they try and
act.
Yeah, they overpower the people with the little syringes that you were saying about. And they manage to get out, and then they try and be pod people by acting like pod people, but not doing it very well. I mean, they are in the film doing it well, but from a viewer's point of view, you're going, Also,
the cover gets blamed because women are weak.
Yeah, and she goes, and she goes, oh my god, oh, I'm so sorry, Miles.
Yeah, this is the
and he goes, you bitch. Oh wait, no, I mean that's okay, dear.
The only thing she didn't do was trip over a rock as they ran.
Didn't actually do that. Yeah. But they do have to run, and they do it over these fields and hills and
valleys and oh my god,
over the hanging gardens of Babylon.
And they're chased by everybody in the town.
Everyone in the town.
The first 200 men.
Yeah.
And then it's only and then they do the thing where they go into a mine.
Yeah, they end up in this. Yeah.
And they literally hide in a ditch as all these townsfolk, men and women, run over them.
Yeah.
Because they're hiding with these planks.
Yeah.
Which is lit. So
yes.
It's like, it doesn't take one of them to just look down. Anyway.
Well, so that there is a difference between, as I said, the movie and the book with this as well. But I think we'll just stick to the movie for a second, and I'll come back to where the book changes. Because in the movie, there's a bit where she eventually, the thing is though, Becky can't. It's like we were saying, you have to sleep. You have to sleep. So Becky ends up falling asleep.
Yes.
And in doing so, she turns into a pod person, and the doctor guy realises it when he tries to embrace her.
He kisses her. And again, as long as we kissed her, then he sort of stops.
Yeah.
Like, what's wrong, dude?
Yeah.
And the music sting goes.
Yeah.
So which happens. Then you see a cutaway of her face where she looks emotionless.
Yeah.
Again, you should have done the music sting on that.
Yes.
But just because she didn't give the tongue, that's
reason. Yeah, it's like no emotion.
Yeah. And she's why did you kiss me? It's me. But again, the mechanics sort of freaked me out. Because well, how doesn't she have to be absorbed by a pod?
Yeah.
Where was the pod? Was there a pod nearby that she...
Yeah, that's right.
Again, it's like, it's a bit like the remake of The Stepford Wives.
Yes.
It's been criticised as, are they androids, are they women? Nobody knew what the hell was going on.
Yeah.
The writing was so confused.
Yeah.
Same thing, I'm like, doesn't she need to die as dust and then become a new person?
Yeah.
If she slept next to a pod, though, in a mine shaft, so where was the pod?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just something, it's almost like she wakes up and she's one of them.
No, that was it. That's how it did play, isn't it? And I felt the same way. I was like, oh, okay.
It makes no sense.
Yeah.
The 70th version is not that much better, but anyway. It's a little better, but not that much better.
We're going to come back.
Yeah.
We will talk about that.
Yeah.
Somehow, this is going to turn into a 2-hour feature podcast.
3 times we're trying to...
Yeah, exactly. So bear with us.
But
so he ends up having to run away.
And she screams, he's here.
Yeah.
He's here. And then the thing I liked about the 78 version is like, we could do that better.
Yeah.
And they do it better.
They do it better.
Yeah. Yes.
But she goes, he's here. Come over here.
Get him. And
Get him.
I was waiting for people to come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But he does run off.
There's a guy behind the shrubbery. What?
And he runs. He is chased after a while, but he runs into a highway.
Yeah, he ends up piling onto the highway. He makes it to the highway, and he's like screaming, and trying to climb on trucks, and he comes across more pods that are being transported away.
And that's when he's like, oh my God, and he rambles like a madman.
He rambles like a madman. We missed a bit at the beginning.
The opening bit, but the opening bit and the ending bit were added on later.
Yes, that's kind of why I'm forgetting about it.
Yeah. But no, but he's because he's taken into
a hospital.
Custody hospital.
Yeah.
And the cop says, he pulls in a psychiatrist and says, this guy's mad. And he goes, I'm a doctor. Everybody's being raped. And that's when he goes into the flashback. Classic flashback. And that's the entire movie. And then he's like, back cut to present day. And
that's it.
He's mad as a Looney Tunes.
He's mad as a March hare.
Yeah.
And then we hear about...
well, then a hospital orderly brings a man in who's being hit by a truck.
Yes.
And the guy goes, this is so weird. The truck that fell on him had all these pods in it.
Yes.
Where was the truck coming from? It's Santamira, which is the town he was from.
Yeah, that's right.
Based on those two tidbits alone, they believe his story.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. Oh, right, you meant it.
Yeah.
And so they kind of presume it's led to believe that things all get sorted out at the end.
So it
has this. FBI.
Because it has to have an optimistic ending, because if these guys are an allegory for communism, then the Americans have to win.
Exactly. Yeah. And so there is that really famous, we skipped it, but there is that really famous quote where he's ranting in the streets where he says, they're here already, you're next, you're next.
Yes.
And there's a reason I'm saying that it's important. But we'll come to that. Remember that, folks. Again, which has the whole communism thing that you associate with it in this particular film. So just quickly on the book and the differences between the book. So as I said, there's the two couples is happening. So you've got the Jack thing as well, and they generally are together for a bit. They run away from the town, right? They escape, just right. Then they go, I think we should go back, and they go back, and you go, why? But they do. They go back, and they decide to split up, and so we're following the main narrative of the main doctor and Becky. And they go back and realise that she wants to go back and check out her dad, and that's when they realise no, they have actually transformed. And then that's where they eventually get cornered into his picks up the narrative of what we know of the film, where he ends up at the doctor's office, and so that picks up as per normal, right? And then, but Jack isn't taken over as a pod person.
Right. He
doesn't turn up. The psychiatrist person does in the book, right? But Jack doesn't. He's not one of the ones that's turned. But somehow the doctor is able to get a message to Jack by phoning him up. So he sends this coded message to Jack about where they're going to be, which is at this the original guy that told the story of these weird seed pods that he found. So it's like the genesis of where the story began, and that's why he's using the detective hat thing to try and trace it back to its roots to figure out what's going on. And when they go and see this guy, he basically says, oh yeah, that was the newspaper people, they blew my report out of proportion. And so he's there's something about him where you realise that he's not necessarily who he deems to be. He's like, nothing's kosher about it. And this guy is one of the ones that does turn up later on down the track. But while they're there, this is where Jack and Teddy are supposed to turn up, and they come just as they're leaving the house. They come tearing past in their car really fast, and you see these other people kind of in a car chasing. You don't see them, you're reading it. These other people chase past them at the same time, and you think, oh, they're trying to get away, but they also time it in a way that they want it. Jack times it so that he knows they're going to be at that house coming out at that time because they've arranged for a certain time, so that he could see them and realise, oh, they're in trouble. They're not going to be able to get away from this. And we hear a big crash and a commotion, and you think, shit, they've been caught. Right? So that whole thing's been going on. Then we continue with the story as a narrative, but Becky doesn't turn either.
Oh, okay.
And they are still running away, and they hide in these bushes. He manages to, or like this. They run through like a field essentially, but he manages to kind of fake where they've gone through it and bend the plants in a way so they kind of hide, and they're able to sleep without being detected, and they get their respite, so they're okay. And then when they wake up, they realise that they're close to this farm, and there's this huge pods everywhere.
Okay.
And so they then also find a tractor there with an oil drum and stuff, and so they use that to roll the stuff down to blow the pods up, and you think that's how they're going to get away, and everything's going to be okay, but there's not enough fuel, and the fuel just ends up dying out. So they've only destroyed some of it, and then they get surrounded, a bit like you know, pod people. They've got nowhere to go, and you think, oh, right, shit, they're fucked. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, the pods rise up into the sky and go back into space. Right. And it's because they feel Earth is too hostile. Right. And they escape. It's survival. Yeah. So they go, well, we're not. There's too much resistance. And then, so the Doctor puts it together. Goes, we're not the only ones who put up a resistance. You know, we've shown that humanity is too hostile, and they find it not a safe place, and so these pods just all start leaving. Yeah, right. The exception being the people that are already taken over. Yeah, right. And he said, like, and we all went about our lives as per usual. Yeah. Jack and Teddy are okay. They actually survived. Yeah. And there's a few of us that did. And slowly the people that had been turned into pod people, they kind of died out. It was like something like that. It kind of withered away. And so new people then came in, and the town reformed again. So it was a period where it almost died out, but it rebuilt, and you wouldn't know any of the wiser about what had occurred unless you were involved with it. And that's kind of how it ends. Yeah. So a bit of a difference between the book and the film, the direction. So
it's very similar to the end of the world.
I was thinking.
World's End. The Simon Pegg film.
The World's End.
Yeah, because
exactly.
They blank. The blanks want to. Yeah. They again offer you unity and
safety, that's right. That's right.
Blank and
it's obviously inspired by that. I mean, even
Bill Nye says, fuck it, this pisses off.
It's even like a War of the Worlds as well. Like, you know, I use that deliberately because of the invasion kind of side of it. But even the way that H.G. Wells writes that book too, there's a very similar kind of style and storytelling and narrative in the two movies, even though War of the Worlds came way before. Exactly. But it's a similar kind of feel to it. Yeah. But yeah, so that's how the 50s film. Yeah, that's the 50s film. Yeah. So you watched that for the first time the other night for the podcast. Yeah. So and you were familiar with the other two.
Yes, by then. Yeah.
Right. So when you watched that, what did that evoke in you, having known the other two films? Did that just kind of confirm, okay, that's interesting? My question is did that make you go, that's interesting, now I kind of know where that was all born from, and is it interesting?
Yeah, I mean, I knew about where the original film came from, communism, and that's why it's timely, and ironically enough, people say, on the other aspect, it's actually McCarthyism.
Yes.
The way you are hunted down for being different.
Yes.
The interesting telling thing, it said twice, particularly by the interaction between the characters. Yeah. Blah 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 blah. Particularly in this day and age, in these troubling times, that was the exact words. It's a phrase that's said in every film, apparently in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, noughties. Today, how many films would supposed to say in these troubling times? Nowhere has America really been stable for the last 70 years. Yeah. Like, every time there's a troubling time. Yeah. Nobody's ever happy with the status quo. That is interesting to me. But I think in terms of on the surface of it, the paranoia device, RUU, is my husband, my wife, is brilliant. Yes. Absolutely brilliant, because there's so many ways you can go with it. That just becomes compelling drama. The Thing does it really well. This film conceptually does it. All of them do really well. And it's a fear that's primeval, similar to the way Jaws worked. Yes. But you can't see it.
Yes,
it's
that's right.
Feet. It's underneath you. You can't see it. Yeah. And against the same thing of being out of place, being displaced. People you thought you knew intimately, you don't. Yeah. And you being the odd man out, everybody feels that. Yeah. And in the age of social media, proves that everybody feels that they are out of place. It's not so unique. For people of our generation who grew up not being socially connected like people are, we always felt it, but we always felt it was just us that we feel out of place. And that's something that just taps into everybody's fear. And I think all these two films do it. I think the fact that this film did it in the era of McCarthyism is why it works. And particularly America destroying the American way of life. These people are so Norman Rockwell. It's not funny.
Yeah.
They are so well dressed, and it's a lie, utopia that is very surface level, but it is very neat.
Yes.
And perfectly manicured.
Yeah.
That's another good way of describing it. These people dressed to the nines just to walk down the street. Like it's and this film deals with a threat that will tear that apart.
Yes, that's right.
That's what I got from a filmmaking point of view. It's still a very much a film of its time.
Yeah, heavily so. Yeah.
The effects, like we talked about, the dissolves, the effects, the coverage, all that, the acting even.
Yeah.
It's still very banter led. People speak very quickly, rapidly, for things where they should pause emotively to stop, but they just talk all the way through the scene. And America doesn't like being threatened. Its way of life.
No.
And that's what this film does really, really well.
Yeah.
That's big by my outtake from all that. I think it's got some solid. Some of the effects, like the Becky clone looked really good.
Yeah.
For what I saw, others, it looks okay. It's soap on resuscitation dummies or mannequins. The 70s film takes it to the next level.
Yeah. And we'll go. Let's go on to that too.
Yeah.
Just the only thing I would add is that I kind of weirdly liked watching the 50s one. I
enjoyed it.
There's a bit of a good rhythm to it, and I actually was sitting there going, I can imagine when this was released that this would have stood a bit head and shoulders over its other counterparts of the time.
It has an idea.
Yeah.
Anything with a strong idea.
That's right.
It's got a chance.
Exactly.
You're listening to the Surgeons of Horror podcast.
All right, so we fast forward then to 1978, so this is a good 20 odd years after the film come out, and then Philip Kaufman is the director of this film. He comes across the idea of kind of doing a modern version of it, or a modern version of it then, and it's you look at the cast in it is a bit of a who.
There's some pretty heavy hitters.
Yeah.
Donald Sutherland and Jeff Goldblum is ageless, like in terms of he has one style, and it's just built for cinema. I think that's I mean, you talk about cinema. I'm not going to talk about. We talk about cinematic styles and conventions. I've talked about how the 50s worked. And the way they do banter.
Yes.
And the way the coverage is done. This film, and Goldblum's perfect for this. A lot of people talking over each other. Yeah. This film, I mean, Superman did it. The original Superman does it really. Any scene in the Daily Planet, there's 3 conversations going at once.
I know the one.
And you're following it, and you're loving it.
Yeah.
And the same thing with this film. When we first meet Jeff Goldblum, he's yakking away whilst Donald Sutherland is on the phone trying to. Yeah, and he's talking. They talk over each other for a good minute.
That's
that sort of style, that sort of rhythm.
There is that kind of natural, there's that natural kind of energy to it, which it either works, people either like that or they don't. Right?
But it is a method of acting.
Yeah, and I kind of slip into that. I do like that. I kind of I like watching that, and even the pace of the movie, which at points can drag, but because of the natural effect that they're going with it, it just makes it that more believable about the journey they're going through. But we're talking about Donald Sutherland is the lead in this film,
and he's a health inspector.
He's a health inspector.
So again, this is the classic thing of no, he can't be a scientist. Let's make him an everyday man.
Yeah, that's
but he has a job that's.
But he still has a scientific mind.
He does.
He's got to be able to.
And his job, weirdly enough, because I'm thinking you would probably make him a reporter, but somebody was clever enough to make him a health inspector.
Yeah.
A food inspector.
I love that. And by the way, rat poo or caper?
I prefer Rapu. Rapu came. Yeah, it's this weird opening scene that he comes in and inspects a restaurant, French restaurant.
Yeah, it's a restaurant. Yeah.
And he says there's Rapu in this food, and to prove his point, he offers it to the head chef or the owner and says, "Eat it."
Yeah.
Anyway, and then the chef trashes his car.
Yeah, I love that. He
gives him a poor rating.
That's it.
And so that's his day job.
Yep.
The female lead is her name Becky too?
Oh no, it's Becky 1. We're here all night. Sorry.
She's a plant expert.
So she's Elizabeth in this.
Yeah.
So she's not. So she's a plant expert, and so she kind of fondles plants.
Because this is a weird thing.
So I just want to dial back. Right at the very beginning, during the credits, we actually do see these seeds kind of forming, right?
Yeah,
on a planet, and they do come down and there is a bit I quite like cinematically with the things is where it's attached to the leaves, and there is this kind of very organic
thing
look.
Comes out.
Yeah.
They come down in the rain. So the opening shot looks like a really bad Saturn VII special effect.
Yeah.
That's these seeds forming on a planet.
Yes.
And then they fly to Earth, but when they come down in the rain and they form pods on plant leaves. And this effect looks pretty good.
Yeah, I like that bit.
It's all in camera, it's practical, but it works.
Yeah.
And then Elizabeth finds a plant.
Yeah.
Takes it home.
That looks pretty.
And then talks to her
boyfriend, who's a jerk.
Some dude.
It's some dude.
There's this weird thing where all the voices ADR, so it's all not recorded live. They had to re-record it, so it's got that weird hollow, flat sound. But she's talking to him, and the camera's set at the end of a corridor, and you don't see them; you just hear them talking. And occasionally they'll pass in front of the camera.
Yeah.
But it's like a really weird decision to direct it. Or it's a really bad student filmmaker who has no idea what he's fucking doing. I'm giving them Kaufman the benefit of the doubt, but he's made a deliberate choice to not show their faces for the longest time. As they talk, and she talks about this pretty flower that she's found. And later she goes to bed with him, and they leave the flower in a jar thing next to the bed.
That's right. Yeah, and that's how it passes around. So look. I should stress that the Kaufman's the director of this film. He was before it. The most known film before this was 2 years before that. He did The Outlaw of Josie Wells. He didn't direct that. He wrote that. But he would go to do The Wanderers and then Raiders of the Lost Ark. He wrote. He would write and direct The Right Stuff. He wrote Temple of Doom. He would write and direct The Unbearable Lightness of Being, which is actually a really good film.
He's got an incredible...
He did Quills.
Yeah.
As well. I didn't know that.
But the interesting thing about this film, I feel it still feels like a very 70s film.
Yes, I agree.
It has moments that are very telemovie.
Yeah.
Streets of San Francisco.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't...
so I get that too. And because I remembered you had made that comment to me offline before I rewatched it again recently, and I was just like, I still feel like it's a good movie. I like, despite that, and I didn't feel that as much. I get exactly where you're coming from, but I didn't feel it as strongly as you did. I think.
Yeah, it did. So only because Alien came out the year after.
Yeah, I get it.
Before.
Yeah.
Jaws was 2 years before that.
Yeah.
Or whatever, but it's interesting. It is interesting, considering it's considered a seminal film, a great remake. The one at the time was considered the best remake ever. But so it's interesting. So
I forgot to mention as well, so Veronica Cartwright's in talking about the Alien connection. Yeah. So she's also the one, and Leonard Nimoy. I don't know if we mentioned right at the beginning of the head of the, but they're two very known sci-fi actors at the time as well.
Yes.
Who are featured in this film. So the point of difference, and I think this is how we'll talk through these movies. We'll talk about the point of difference between the two. So yes, obviously he's a health inspector rather than a doctor. And I did like the bit where the first point we see someone turn is Liz Driscoll's partner, the dude. No.
Oh,
we don't physically see someone. The first person that turns.
He comes up
and he's just very
emotionless,
and that was off, like in a good way off.
Yeah. When she sees something on his neck, and they never show it in the car.
No.
So I don't know what she freaks out.
She goes, "Oh my god!"
And or something where he has a scar on his neck, or some other woman says her husband's our husband.
Yeah.
And he's like, "How do you know?" And she said, "There's a scar on his neck, and this husband has the exact same scar." So, hang on, doesn't it? And I think Leonard Nimoy actually says, that kind of proves he is your husband.
Yeah.
No, it's not. I'm like, well, you do sound like a crazy person.
So they do actually, so she goes and turns to, she happens to be friends with Donald Sutherland's character, and that's when they talk about the weird shit that's going on with her partner. We do see the weird trashy stuff, the fluffy stuff.
Yes, at this point, people
and they put it in garbage trucks. And I was actually going, that's actually a really good way of getting rid of the evidence.
Yeah, and the fact is, it seems to be because her partner throws one out to a garbage truck, and the garbologist, we call him the garbage truck, seems to be totally fine with him throwing
Yeah.
and the look they give each other.
Yeah.
The garbage guy seems to be in on it.
Yeah.
And it seemed to me that if you wanted to take over a city, the first people you take over are the infrastructure people.
Yeah.
The garbage men, the firemen, the ambulance men.
That's right.
And it seems to me strategically, if the pods had collectively intelligence, that's what they've done.
Yes.
And before going to the middle management people.
Yeah.
Because it seemed like the garbage, and again, the 93 version, something similar.
Yeah.
Where Meg Tilly throws her body into and the garbage guy seems to be totally in on the game.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
See what we did there. See what we did. You want to wrestle? Hey? Pod person?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, you're not.
Pod person?
Ignore what I just said.
Pod person?
Pod person.
Pod person?
Pod person. Hello, pod person.
Yeah. So Donald Sutherland and her and this Elizabeth Woman work together.
Yeah, and there is a hint of chemistry.
Yeah, he's got a crush on her, and she seems to flirt with him too.
Yeah.
At one point, he's cooking stir fry, very edgy for the 1970s.
Yeah, stir fry.
He's cooking stir fry. It seems to be just vegetables in oil.
Yeah, that's stir fry, isn't it?
Yeah, but let's put soy sauce and oyster sauce. And
nah.
Anyway, he gives her one, and it's just like
wait.
Yeah,
he gives her one.
He gives a bit of stir fry to eat.
Yeah. I know you mean.
We are jumping a bit, but anyway.
No, that's cool.
So,
but the point is they have a chemistry and enough of an openness between each other that she can talk quite candidly about what's going on. Yeah. And so he just says, "Hey, come see this guy. I know he's a psychiatrist. He happens to be famous. He's Leonard Nimoy.
He's Mr. Spot.
Yeah. Whose character in this is David Kibner. So he's the equivalent of the psychiatrist in the original, right? And he's the one that's saying you're... well, they actually... when they go to this party, it's a book signing, essentially.
Yeah, and that's when we Jeff Goldblum...
Jeff Goldblum going...
this book is garbage.
It's garbage.
Yeah.
I shit on it.
So Goldblum's... Yeah, his character's not a fan of the book.
No. And he's the Jack character in it.
Yeah.
So from the original.
He's a writer, though.
He's the writer. So Jack in the... But Jack is a writer in
the original. But the thing is, Jeff Goldblum's character is so pissed at this doctor. I thought he is because he was another psychiatrist.
Yeah, no, he does.
He's
sort
pissed
of like...
because he's a writer? Well,
yeah.
Why are you doing this? He's a jealous bitch throughout this whole thing.
He is a jealous bitch. You're a biatch.
And Leonard Nimoy's character is getting inundated with a woman in particular.
Yeah.
Who says her husband's not a husband.
Yeah.
He kind of says, of course, look at him. He's trying to be rational.
Yeah, that's right. I do like that scene.
Yeah, and it's done very well. And to me, the voice I'm hearing is Leonard Nimoy voiceovers for documentaries at that point.
Yeah.
Voiceover a lot of documentaries.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's something before I get in touch on the first film is that this film and the last film, not so much the 90s film, but whenever the lead characters start to get suspicious, they talk to a psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist says, I've been seeing a lot of this pop up.
Yes.
It's the classic example of mass hysteria, sheep panic.
Yeah.
And Leonard Nimoy saying that as well.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, saying,
that's right.
It's definitely a husband. It's just an interesting phenomenon.
Yeah.
The other interesting thing he has is this weird leather glove on his left hand.
Because he's Michael Jackson?
Covers up his middle ring finger.
Ah.
Which he wore it, because I thought, he's injured himself and they have to cover it up.
Yeah.
He literally wore it because he thought he'd make his character stand out on camera. It's called the Steve McQueen thing.
Yeah, I was going to say with the...
In the Magnificent Seven, Steve McQueen, if you look at him in the Magnificent Seven, he's always doing something. Usually with his hat.
Yeah.
He touches his hat, he fiddles his hat. If he's on a horse with the other seven, he'll suddenly lean over with his hat to pick up some water and pour it on his head because he's doing something to distract you from the other seven, the other six. So you look at him. It's an old film thing.
Yeah, that's right.
More of this prop.
There's a similar thing with James Dean in Giant. Right, so James Dean isn't the lead. Rock Hudson's the lead in it. And there's a thing where he's in the background and he's doing a sting with lasso thing with his rope. And it's to steal your attention away from Rock Hudson, who's having this huge monologue moment. And your attention goes, oh, who's that guy? Very cool. Yeah. Well, maybe not. So Nimoy's character is kind of saying, of course, he's your husband, and so, but Liz is picking up on this, and she's going, no, I believe her.
So my partner's a mother.
Yeah.
He does this weird thing where he suddenly grabs Jeff Goldblum and yells at him. As a, what did you feel in that moment? You're in the moment. You're present. Like, what the fuck was that?
Nimoy does that.
Yeah, Nimoy does that.
I think that's important because it shows he's not... Yeah.
Yeah, but again, there's an interesting thing about some people have talked about this.
Yeah, go on.
Because later on he ends up being a pod person.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
What?
But and they're thinking, well, when did that transition happen?
Yeah.
So obviously, it's after this party.
Yes.
Because in this party, he's showing all kinds of emotions.
Yes, right.
And some people say, what if it was before this party and he's been told to be a spy, and that's why he's simulating emotions?
Yeah.
I'm like, well, that kind of defeats the purpose.
I don't believe that.
I don't believe it. I think that was
because you see him strutting down the street too.
Yeah, I believe that.
And
was
he looks cool. No.
Yeah.
It's got nothing to do with it. But yeah, he does. I think it's when he goes on his own path. I think this starts to awaken stuff. And he's already said there are people that are showing signs of this mass hysteria thing, right?
Yeah.
So he's obviously then getting exposed to these people anyway. So he's eventually going to get caught. Yeah. So it's a logical path for him to go down that.
Yeah.
And isn't he still? So has he turned by the time mud bath scene? Do you think?
The arguing is to he's turned at this point, which I think he has. But some people said no, it's actually after this. He sees him again after
mud bath.
After mud bath, because they all four of them are now in Donald Sutherland's house.
Yes.
And he comes in, and he's now acting like you people are definitely crazy.
Yeah.
So
all right, cool.
And that's because he also leaves the house and goes into a car. And other pod people in there, so he's definitely
other pod people don't drive.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't drive tonight. All right. Well, we'll see. We'll see our thoughts on that. So anyway, look, I am jumping around. Sorry. So yeah, all that stuff kind of happens at the party, and they kind of he's trying to reassure her that it's okay, but obviously she still has her suspicions. So yeah, they do pick up with Jack. Yeah. Going to the mud bath. And that's where he sees his wife Nancy, who runs the parlour. And
I thought she was like the sister to Donald Sutherland, the way they acted.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? There was that kind of, but friends. I don't think that. Yeah, I think they're just friends. But she did have a
bath, which is obviously the thing in the 70s, where people go in and just lie in mud.
Yeah,
hot
mud. I always think of The Player, the film The Player.
Oh, right.
Have you seen that?
No.
Tim Robbins.
Yeah, I have seen that.
Goes off with Greta Scacchi to this place, and they just sit in mud.
But anyway.
But this is like yucky, horrible.
It's quite
filthy. Yeah, you're just like, what?
And it'd be damp as fuck.
Yeah. So that's all happening. And there's a couple of other guys that are soaking in the mud as well.
One's a Russian dude.
Yeah. And one of them gets out and he gets sponged down. Wait.
Yeah, it's weird.
But then Jack he goes off on his own. Well, he goes into like this little. It's almost like these, like when you're in a hospital and they've got these curtains. It's kind of that.
That's the deal. Yeah.
Look at it. He goes on his own behind there, and but he falls asleep, doesn't he?
Yeah, he wants a nap.
I'm gonna have a nap.
Yeah.
And he kind of wakes up. And there's because that's right, because Nancy's calling him for help.
Yeah.
And he there's this body that looks like Jack.
She's found the body.
Yeah.
Next to him, in the cubicle next to him.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And at one point she hits him in the nose and he's bleeding.
Has a nosebleed, and then the body's nose bleeds. Yeah.
I freak out and say, it's him. It's the body, same thing. It's half formed.
Yeah, so it's the same kind of thing with the pool. Instead of a pool table, it's in a pool of mud.
Yeah, it's a bed-ish
thing. Yeah.
And it's better effects, so you see more close up.
Yes.
It still looks like a mannequin, but it's covered in tendrils and.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. But when they call Kibner, he turns up, but the body's gone.
Yes, it's gone at this point. And Kibner's saying, "Okay, you know what?"
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course this just gives Jeff Goldblum's character more of an excuse to sort of go up at him. They end up going over to Jack. That's right, Jack. It's not Jack. Donald's character.
Yeah.
Goes to Elizabeth's place.
Yeah, he goes over there and he breaks in.
Same thing like in the first one. He breaks in. She's being duplicated.
Yes.
In her bedroom, and outside her bedroom, there's a window that leads to a balcony with a big garden area.
Yeah.
And in that garden area is Elizabeth being formed.
Yes.
As a pod person. That's when he becomes a believer.
Yes.
He grabs her because her partner made her go to sleep so she could be.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And so he drags her out and literally jumps in his car, takes off.
Yes. I actually really like that scene. The bit I liked though is the bit where he's in the room and he's trying to wake her up at first and nothing's happening, and then he goes and hides in the closet because the boyfriend comes in.
Yeah, to see how
she's and goes again. And there's a good kind of way that he has to try and sneak out of the house.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a tension moment.
Yeah, it was because they go back.
Yeah.
At some point, and of course the body's not there.
Yes.
And the screaming each other, there's police going to make charges because you broke into the house.
That's right.
Because he's like, where's my wife? Or the boyfriend's like, where's my girlfriend? He's like, is she?
Yep.
She's in my house, and that's technically kidnapping.
Yes.
And then the boyfriend doesn't press charges at this point. And you kind of get the sense that the cops there may be in on it.
Yeah. There is a bit of a conspiracy thing that's forming at this point.
Which is the beauty of these sort of films.
Yeah.
Who's who.
Yes.
And they all go back to sleep at Donald Sutherland's place. So does Jeff Goldblum, so does Veronica Cartwright.
Yeah.
And they're all sleeping in his room, and he decides to sleep outside on the balcony.
I don't think he means to. He goes out. He just walks outside because they are kind of talking and like trying to process what's going on because it is all a bit bizarre. And he just sits down on a deck chair and he just falls asleep.
And these tendrils wrap around his hand, and they're coming from his garden.
Yeah,
where there happen to be 4 pods.
Yeah.
And then this is really good. This is the thing, in terms of special effects, is what made this film really.
Yeah, I like this thing.
Is that these pods start to form as them. And it's really good sound effects.
Yeah.
It is pretty good visual effects for the time. And it's pretty visceral and scary and like, these things are forming.
Yeah.
And for some reason he wakes up.
Well, she wakes him up. Veronica Cartwright wakes him up.
Right, okay, yeah.
Out of his sleep, because she's the only one that kind of hasn't gone into a full sleep.
So again, this is where the frustration comes in the mechanics of how this works.
Yeah.
Because do these pods have to be connected physically to you like tendrils to absorb you?
Yeah.
Which they do in the 90s version.
Yeah.
But in this one, all the pods are outside. So why are they duplicating 3 people they're not attached to?
Because I always thought it was just going off the book and the first one. I always felt like it was a gas kind of thing.
Right.
So that's what. So they have to put them to sleep first. So I always felt like I don't think it was written like that way. By the way, I just put that's how I.
In your head.
Yeah. And it emits a gas that would make you sleepy. So then it can then absorb you.
But it still feels like they need a physical
connection, which they kind of. But isn't then in this movie when it's crawling up Donald, then that is the physical attachment.
Yeah, but that would explain Donald's duplicate.
Yeah, but not the others.
That's what.
Yeah, good point.
I like how the Donald duplicate, good curly hair.
Yeah.
Because that's Donald.
Yeah.
So they wake up and they freak out. Do they destroy the bodies? I can't remember.
I think he treads on them, doesn't he? Doesn't he?
He stomps on their face.
Yeah.
And that's again pretty gory.
Yeah. So they all kind of run off, and he's like, "I'll catch up to you," and he stomps on their faces.
And at this point,
and they go on a bit of a run to get away.
A lot of people have been taken over.
Yeah, and then, but this is when they do split up. So the Jack and Veronica Cartwright, because they're getting overrun. Yeah. And so he goes running off. Going, chase me.
Yeah, that's right, he does, yeah. And she chases after him.
Yeah, and she goes after him.
Which reminded me of Shaun of the Dead. When the guy goes running, he gets torn out, he gets killed by zombies, and Dawn, what's her name?
Yeah, from The Office.
Chases after him.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's just Donald Sutherland and the Elizabeth character.
Yep.
And
yeah, that's right. So they're kind of left alone, and they go on the run to try and escape. And they kind of get chased across the town. They try and hide out in the health department building for a bit.
So again, it's very similar to the first
And this is where, and they kind of see the pods being assembled or
delivered.
Delivered. That's it. Yeah.
So but here's the thing: they get these big trucks come up and people carry a pod each and over. And
that's right.
And this is a classic. People in the yellow zone. I was like, it's flying high or airplane.
Yeah.
The red zone is for loading and unloading only.
I really like this next bit coming up though because they kind of get found.
Yeah.
And that's the bit where Nimoy turns up and.
Yeah, he's the one who pitches them.
Yeah.
As Spock.
Yeah, as Spock.
Yeah. It's the pitch which is no fear, no anxiety. You live as one and you live as a high one.
Yeah.
And it's seductive in the sense that if you listen to the surface of what he's saying.
Yeah.
Okay, how bad can it be?
And there's a bit I like. There's the bit I just like how emotive Sutherland gets in this scene, and he's like, "I'm your friend. friend." He's trying to convince him, but he's not. He's not his friend.
Yeah. But again, his angle is the individual. How can you do this to me? You can kill us.
Yeah.
And the more he's like, well, yes, and then you get reborn.
Yeah.
It's that classic argument of like, yes, but you're going to kill us.
Yeah.
Yes, but you'll be reborn. But you're going to kill me. That's really wrong.
That's kind of a cool moment, and they kind of get. So they're trying to overpower them essentially in this bit, and this is where they're injected with the sedative stuff,
That's right.
but they kind of are able to escape despite that. So they manage to kind of get out of the building, but obviously they have this.
They have to take a bunch of uppers.
And this is where they also rediscover Nancy at this point.
They do. And this is the twist. This is from the first movie, and she's figured it out. She's figured it out.
Yeah.
If you walk emotionless amongst them, you're not going to get busted.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And then, so they try it, and then something happens, and they get separated.
Yeah, so they go outside, but there's a mutant dog because there's a cameo, like a small character. There's a small character who's a busker dude.
Yeah.
And he's always there with his dog, and the dog comes up, and it's got the face of the guy.
So the pod was absorbed them both by accident.
Yeah, that's right.
And she freaks out.
Yeah, and she reacts to it. So it's not a dog getting almost hit. It's a
mutant dog.
Yeah.
That's more explainable. I'll excuse a woman or a man going, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
And so they get caught because Cat Wright being
she just blends in.
She's like, "Cool." And throw them under the bus.
Yeah, that's right. I'll fuck them.
She ghosts.
So she managed to blend in, whereas Matthew is the doctor's name we keep getting that Sutherland plays, and Elizabeth kind of flee. They kind of get on these trucks that's carrying the pods, and that's where they discover the huge warehouse where these pods are being cultivated, and the same kind of premise of that they're going to get shipped around across the cities, across the states, and eventually the world. But they try and find a way out because they get down to where the cargo ships are, and he goes, "Oh, I can hear music. That might be humanity."
Again, same in the first movie. There's music that got him to say, "Stay here."
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Here he hears bagpipes. For some reason, bagpipes means freedom.
Yeah.
And then he goes and
he watched Braveheart.
Yeah, it must be. And then he goes off and
then realises that it's a red herring.
It's musically playing on the radio somewhere.
Yeah. Then he comes back and he finds Elizabeth has slept. Yeah, and he tries to wake her up.
She literally crumbles.
And I love this scene. It's a really good effect, and his reaction to it is because she just crumbles, like everything just withers away, and it's a nice effect. It's done really well. And then you get naked her pop up in the shrubbery behind her.
Which is great, but again, I'm thinking, did she sleep next to her pod? What the fuck? I don't know what the mechanics of this film is.
Yeah.
But and she's doing the whole thing of trying to seduce him.
Yeah.
He was right. Join me.
Yeah. That's right.
Siren element.
Yeah.
We could be together. But no emotion, so what's the point?
Yeah.
And so he gets pissed off.
Yes.
And he uses that resolve to destroy the factory.
Yes.
Which he does by climbing on the roof. And so and that was really him literally blowing up the place.
Yeah, that's right. You get because he's angry. Try and do what he can to stop it. That's right.
We didn't have time for a stuntman.
Yeah.
And at one point, she runs in and screams. And this is the first time you hear the scream.
Yeah, it is.
It's a really chilling point and scream.
Yeah, that's right.
This is a really clever addition to the
canon.
It's really creepy. She's naked and slimy.
Yes.
Except for the TV version.
Yeah.
She is on a red dress.
Oh, really? Is that what you meant by your comment? Is she naked? No, I was just like, what the hell are you talking about?
I shot it twice. So, I think when she first...
So I've clearly not seen the TV version.
If you go to IMDb, there's a shot of her pointing, screaming, and she's in a red dress.
Okay.
Because TV.
Yeah.
So they shot it twice. So, but that's her pointing, screaming, and he's blowing up shit. And then they chase after him. Mm-hmm. And again, same thing with the first movie, the townspeople chasing after him.
Yeah.
He hides, and people running past him. Oh, I think he hides in a ditch or something like that.
Yeah.
And he hears somebody go, "Well, you can't get far."
That's right. And then we kind of cut to him kind of walking around, like in the morning. He goes to the office where he works.
Yes.
And he's kind of like you think he's trying to blend in.
Yeah, he looks like somebody trying to blend in.
Yeah, he does. And he's like, there's a point where he sees Elizabeth sat.
Everybody's just going about the day. Life, but no emotion, no interaction.
That's it.
And the look on his face is really inscrutable, so you don't know.
Yep. Yeah, that's right. And then he kind of it's just kind of walking along the street, and then Nancy reappears.
Yes.
So Nancy Cartwright.
Yeah.
Is that no? Not Nancy Cartwright. That's The Simpsons.
Veronica Cartwright.
Veronica Cartwright plays Nancy, and she kind of blows her cover and comes out and calls out to him and that's where it's been iconic. So iconic, and he just turns and screams and points.
Opens his mouth and points. I thought they always pointed in a really odd way.
Yeah,
but it's just pointing. I thought they pointed holding the thumb and the middle finger.
I think that's in Takeoff. People do a weird thing.
It's a weird thing with their fingers. Yeah, it's just a pointing screen.
Yeah.
But and the classic thing was she wasn't told. She doesn't get told an awful lot of things. They didn't tell her that John Hurt's body was going to explode.
Yes.
With an alien and stuff. But apparently the rumor was that for her reaction shot, which they shot first, they didn't tell her.
Right.
And so her scream, like being character, and she does. She screams, realizing, shit, I'm the only one.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true or not, but it's a good story.
I don't know that, but that's kind of cool. I'm just seeing if that's written anywhere. But
it's a great twist ending.
Yeah, I like that because it's not it's not the hero or the heroine that you for a start that you expect from a normal one of those normal journeys where that is the resolve. They're the ones that are left alone. It's a co-star that is. Yeah, exactly. But not only that, there's no hope.
Yeah, and that's the ending that the guy wanted in the first film. Siegel wanted in the first film.
Yeah.
Him, the crazy guy running in the streets, going. It's here, they're here.
Yeah.
And yes, he does have a cameo, that same guy, the lead actor.
Oh, we missed that, didn't we? Yeah, sorry.
Has a cameo where he runs into Matthew and Elizabeth's car, screaming those exact same words.
Yeah.
Getting chased and killed.
So, like, you could, like, if you stripped away the original ending, you could almost pick that up. I mean, obviously, it's...
Well, if you keep the original ending and assume that the Americans won and wiped them all out, and then he led back years later in the 70s, it's all happening again.
Yes.
And if you said the words, it's happening again.
That would have been kind of cool.
It would have been kind of cool. And then he dies. But it's him. And he's looking more like the original.
Yeah, that we know. Yeah. That's right. Thanks for dropping that in. I'd completely forgotten that.
But that's a 70s film, and we rushed right through it. But claimed by many as a great remake. And I was like, I didn't realise how much had come from this film.
I
knew about the expression pod people long before I saw this film.
Sure. There's so much I love about this film, though, and I don't know whether it's the iconicness of it, and I just kind of grew up kind of being similar aware of it, and the repetition and the nods that people did in their own kind of pod versions back to this. It's so seeped in invasion kind of pod people domain. But I like Sutherland anyway as an actor, so that kind of helps. He taps into quirky, but kind of only borderline quirky.
Yeah,
he can get unhinged easily, but can also hang right on that precipice really well. Yeah. So when he does that, the ending of this film works because he's able to deliver that. I feel, look, it's a great support. There's a great support cast in it. The effects in it are really done well. And so I think the things you pointed out, which you said were some of its failings.
Some was stated.
Yeah. I forgive those because the other things I feel outweigh it. But I wonder if somebody coming into it afresh would have those same feelings or be going.
Millennial to watch it.
Yes, maybe we should. How do you feel because how do you feel this film sits today? Like if you were kind of.
I think it dated to me as a film, but I do appreciate the seminal elements that came from it.
Yeah.
So the most iconic imagery, Sutherland's last shot, screaming at the camera.
Yeah.
I think the whole paranoia element is probably less about communism. Well, the communism was quite rife in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
But the whole fear of are you better read than dead? It doesn't really exist now. The borders are quite obvious between the two countries. So to me, it was more. It's just more the sci-fi element is more prominent here.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that's why I think that's why I kind of liked it. I think that became a bit more. I do like science fiction, but I felt like that was seeping to the surface a bit more. So I was able to kind of enjoy that. The storytelling part of it.
You get Mr. Spock explaining to you what's going on.
Yeah, and so you get...
That's going to come through. And to me, again, it was really obvious, the choice.
Yeah.
If you were presented with this choice, I don't think you would dismiss it straight away. You'd weigh it up. the pros and the cons.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on where you are in life.
Yeah, that's true.
Love in your life, and you're like, yeah, sure, whatever.
Yeah.
And it is, anything taken to an extreme is an extreme. Right? So losing individuality versus conformity. Through conformity, you get progress and safety.
Yeah.
But how much of that do you sacrifice your own individuality to have that?
Yeah.
Individuality is what makes us us. But if you have pure individuality amongst every single person on earth that is overcrowded, then you're going to have chaos.
Yeah.
So it's again, that to me is sci-fi. What sci-fi does best is ask a question that doesn't have an obvious answer. And that's what this film does. It's got special effects, tremendous special effects. Good acting, all of it. So it's a sci-fi film for me more.
Yeah, I agree.
You're listening to the Surgeons of Horror podcast.
Right, so look, we're going to quickly, and we'll probably have to do it quite quickly, talk about the final of the trilogy, which is the trilogy. The film was inspired by the book Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the book The Body Snatchers, which was called Body Snatchers. It came out in 1993. And in this, directed by Abel Ferrera as well, who was quite renowned for horror films as well. And interesting about this one, and what I do like about this one is that it is set within an army camp, right? And I thought that was one of its plus points.
Yeah.
Because it's like you were saying, if you attack the infrastructure, and the film, when it's released, is, at a time when America is relying on the military power.
Yeah.
So if you pull that down at its knees, what does America stand for, and can it stand?
Exactly. A lot of the major apparent gun control is a big debate in this time and age. One of the big arguments from the opponents for a lack of gun control is having a well-armed militia.
Yeah.
Because you take away the guns from the civilians, what's to stop the army from being a military dictatorship?
Exactly. Yeah.
Blah blah blah. That's where that paranoia comes in.
Yep.
But it's an interesting film in that it's the shorter of the three, and it feels like it.
Yes.
There's less. There's no two couples. There's only one couple. It's a female. It's a female lead.
Yeah, which
is interesting.
Yeah, which I liked.
And that's the lovely Gabrielle Anwar. Press Gang. If you haven't seen Press Gang, see Press Gang.
Brought to you by fans of Press Gang.
Yes, but Claire Filani was making her break into the States at this point, and so was Gabrielle Anwar. And Julia Sawala wasn't.
No.
Yeah, which is really interesting. She chose to stay anyway. So it's about a young military family.
Yeah, well, the father. So it's a father and a stepmother, essentially.
So
right?
it's about a nuclear family.
Yeah,
it's a blended family, which is very prominent now in the 90s and 80s.
Yes,
that's a lot of families.
Yeah.
And so it's dealing with that, where this girl, Gabrielle Anwar, is a teenager, 18, 19.
Yep.
Can't stand her stepmom. Meg Tilly. Awesome Meg Tilly.
I love Meg Tilly. Have I told you how much I love Meg Tilly?
Always confused her with Jennifer for me. I thought they were twins, they're not.
No.
But Jennifer does have a cameo in this.
Really?
As Meg's. Yeah, if you go to the credits, you'll say
I think I knew this.
And it just says Jennifer.
Yeah. I think I did know that, actually. But forgot. But I always had a thing for Meg Tilly.
Oh, she's gorgeous. Absolutely stunning. And this film, she actually, in terms of acting, has the best. This film itself, I mean, you probably could. A lot of people were quick to dismiss it as weak remake. But when it came out, it actually got a lot of praise as saying really good remake.
Yeah.
It was my first. I saw this back in the 90s.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, it wasn't bad. Not knowing about the 78 film.
Yeah.
It's got some moments to it, which I'm looking back and I look at it now and thinking, it's dated.
Yeah.
But it has some moments. The best moment is Meg Tilly's acting.
Yeah.
When she turns.
Yeah.
And she says, "Where are you going to go?"
I love that scene.
Fucking crushes.
Yeah.
That is A class acting.
Yeah.
Because her husband's hysterical.
Yeah.
And it's just sinister.
Yeah.
And it's lit really well. It's shot really well.
It is.
And she says the right thing.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Where are you going to go?
Yeah.
There's nobody left like you. And the way she delivers that is just crushing.
Yeah.
And
it destroys him in that scene.
Yeah.
the guy Terry Kinney is the husband and the father character in it, and to me, like he looks a lot different because he's got hair.
Yeah, basically. The period where he's just about to lose his hair.
Yeah, but he was Tim McManus in Oz. That to me, like I was like, yo, Tim McManus. Anyway, I was like, I forgot you were in this. Anyway, that's just me going off on an Oz tangent. Yeah, so like you're right. So there's a new companion, and there was also a younger brother too.
Yeah, there's a young boy in this one, the annoying trope.
And he's the one that first says, she's not my mom.
Yeah, and again, that's harking back to the first film. There's a young boy that says the same thing. But he says that because he saw it kind of transform. So, he sees the mom's husk dissolve.
That's it.
I think as far as hints go, that's a big one.
Yeah. You don't understand. Yeah. And also, just on a creative point of view as well, I've just realised as well, the screenplay, it was joint written, but one of the screenplay writers, it was Stuart Gordon, who's the guy that directed Reanimator, and he's done a lot of like body morphing kind of horror.
Okay, right.
So it kind of makes sense. You go, oh yeah, of course he'd be interested in this. But there's some great actors in this as well. We should probably add as well, because there's also with Gabrielle Anwar aside and Meg Tilly, we've got Ali Emery, who was
real life Vietnam vet. Was he real life?
I don't know if he was. To me, he's Full Metal Jacket, right?
Yeah, that's the reason why he was casted.
Yeah, I think so.
The soldiers, and his screaming was so.
Yeah.
Steers and queers.
Yeah.
The director was like, "Yeah, we're getting him in the film." Yeah, he's brilliant.
And Forrest Whitaker.
Oh my god!
And I'd forgotten so much that he was in this film until I watched it recently.
And he only does 2 bits, but it did strike. Is this post Crying Game? I think this is after the Crying Game.
Hold on. Well, I will have to look up when Crying Game was, but so this was 1993, 92.
92.
So post Crying Game.
So it could be one of those things where he wanted to do it, but I only want to do 2 scenes and pay me some ton of money.
Yeah.
2 scenes.
Yeah.
Or he did it before Crying Game came out. And then,
true. Yeah, it could have been a crossover point.
But yeah, he's in it. And so he's the first one, because basically the father's some environmentalist.
Yeah, that's right. That's what we didn't. Yeah, so he kind of goes around kind of
analysing soil samples because they're doing stuff in the army base to make sure it's safe.
Yeah.
And then Forrest Whitaker, he's the on-site surgeon.
Yep.
Says, I've got a couple of questions for you. Can the radiation, whatever it is you're looking for, affect people's personality? Because I'm getting a lot of patients saying people are changing.
Yeah.
And so the guy goes, that's weird. And he's like, yeah, it is. And he walks off.
Yeah.
And you don't see him again until she kicks off.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Towards the end.
But yeah,
he's good in that scene.
Yeah, he is.
Where he can't control it anymore.
And the Gabrielle Anwar's character, she's displaced. She ends up wandering the base.
Yeah.
Tries to get into a restricted area where guards tell her to fuck off.
She doesn't try to. She's just wandering.
She's wandering.
She's listening to her Walkman.
That's what, for kids.
And then she realises that she's kind of wandered beyond her jurisdiction. Yeah.
And these guards tell her to fuck off, but they're very mean and they're very stern.
They are.
And then this girl just turns up in a car.
Yeah.
And she just tells her to hop in, which she does. And the girl's the daughter of the Emery character.
Yeah, that's right.
And she's a typical army brat. She's got the run of the place.
Yeah, Christine Elise, that's it.
And she looks really 90s and cool.
Well, she was in. I always know. No, I can't remember the character she played, but I always know her from Beverly Hills 90210. She was in that for a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they become friends.
Yeah.
And then she takes her home to meet her mum, who's an alcoholic, or stepmother, who's an alcoholic.
Yes.
And she's passed out on the couch.
Yeah.
And then they leave her, and then they stay on the mum who's passed out on the couch, but the camera slowly tracks towards an open window.
Yes.
With the mother's nearby.
Yes.
And so that's telling.
Yes.
Because basically what happens later, which is off camera, is that this pod comes in and absorbs the mum.
Yeah.
Through the window. But anyway, they become friends, and then there's the boy. That's right, and the boy's in school.
Yeah. And the pictures.
The pictures. And he's taught everyone draw what you want to draw. And
that's right.
All the kids in school draw this weird red
and bluey, purple, black
thing,
swirls.
Which looks awesome. And the kid draws a house.
Yeah.
And so the kid freaks out. So also all the other kids have been taken over, including the teacher.
Yeah.
So the kid freaks out. He runs off, and he runs across the army base, and these 2 guys pick him up.
Yep.
And one of them's a helicopter pilot, played by one of the dudes from the Lost Boys.
Oh, right.
That's who. Yeah, the guy with the black hair.
Yeah.
I forgot his name, but
I totally didn't realise that.
Back inside.
Yeah, he's Billy Worth.
Billy Worth, yeah, and he is such a classic '90s. What every Hollywood producer thought every young leading man should be.
Yeah.
He's got such a classic '90s look about him. It's not funny.
Yeah.
And he's a good guy. He's a helicopter pilot, but interestingly enough, he hasn't got a lot of substance to him.
No, I was going to say that he's very two-dimensional. To me, he was just like.
And then he's there to basically be flown with the Gabrielle Anwar character.
Yeah.
They end up going out later that night
at the bar or something, and that's where the other girl's there too.
Yeah, the girl's there, and then the bar's getting empty.
Yeah.
Which is a recurring theme in the other films where places start to get empty. Places of social interaction.
That's right.
That's right, because in the first film they go and have the McCarthy character takes the Beckett character for dinner, and the restaurant's dead.
Yeah.
Because they don't go out and socially interact.
No, that's right.
And same in the bar, and then they run into an MP who, at the beginning of the film, scared the Gabrielle and
that's right. Yeah.
In a public restroom where he holds a knife to her throat.
That's right.
And because she reacts, he knows that she's not one of them.
Yeah.
He says they catch you when you sleep. And now he's clearly been taken over.
Yeah.
Because he acts really robot-like.
Yes.
Takes one of the drunk patrons out because they're going to absorb him.
Yeah.
And she freaks out saying that guy threatened me.
And
the leading guy tries to stand up for her and say, "Did you threaten my friend?" And the MP goes, take your girlfriend home, she's drunk. They go off and they play this weird never have I ever game. and then kiss. And then
that made me laugh.
Her home.
See, that to me, I'm watching this, I'm kind of getting a bit.
Yeah, it's very. This is to get the kids in, right? And so they take her home, and the father's pissed that she's come home so late.
Yeah.
And like he said, she's 17, she's come home for 18.
Yeah.
And then that's when she goes to. Is that she has a bath? That's when the mum at this point, the kid doesn't love the mum because he knows the mum's.
Yeah, that's where she turns. Yeah.
And then the mum tells the Gabrielle Anwar character to have a bath.
Yeah.
And she tries to give a massage to her husband so he can sleep on the bed.
Yes.
Unbeknownst to them, she's got a pod underneath the bed.
Yes.
And she has a pod in the ceiling of the bathroom so they can take the Gabrielle Anwar character.
Yeah, that's right.
And the husband over. So this at least makes sense. The pod is physically
the pods are there. Yeah.
And these tendrils come up, which is classic old school filmmaking, which they reverse the film.
Yeah.
So the tendrils are already in their nose.
Yeah.
It looks like the tendrils go up their nose.
Yeah.
And weirdly enough, they wake up. So again, to me, I'm like, unless there's an external stimulus, why would they wake up? So I think the first thing these pods would do is...
Well, she wakes up first, doesn't she?
She somehow wakes up. Something wakes her up. I can't remember what it was. I think she just wakes up.
Yeah.
But to me, if you're these pods and your job is to absorb a subject, the first thing you would do is knock them out.
Yeah.
With some sort of gas or...
That's right.
So unless there's an external stimulus, why would they wake up? So she wakes up, pulls these things out of her face and nose.
Yeah.
And screams, wakes up the husband. He freaks out.
Yeah.
And then he runs out.
And they realise
And then they realise she's down, Big Tilly's downstairs waiting for him.
Yeah.
And he tells her, "We got to go." And that's when she gives that.
Gives this
speech.
Yeah.
There's nothing like you. Chilling as fuck. Gabrielle Anwar's picked up a little brother. They're running out the door. The husband goes, "We're out of here."
Yeah.
He runs out, and then there's an amazing quick zoom tracking on Meg Tilly as she opens her mouth, points her finger, and screams. And they've added an extra sort of sound effect to the screen. Yeah. Again, in the film, this is the first version of the film I saw back in the 90s. I didn't know that was what they were paying homage to.
Yeah.
Still kind of chilling, but yeah, really cool. And at this stage, the whole base has been. They're kind of out in the open.
Yeah. That's right. Everything's gone.
And they're being chased. And they run past two guys with shotguns. And the two guys with shotguns say, "Duck." And they start shooting people.
Yeah.
The two guys with shotguns are obviously human.
Yes.
So they hide. And then the dad says, "I'm going to try and get help or something." And tells Gabrielle Anwar and the brother to stay behind. They're in some sort of warehouse. Yeah. He goes in. That's where he finds Whitaker.
Yes, that's right.
The doctor now. He's drinking. He's got a gun.
Man, your memory of this one's a lot better than mine. Yeah, go on.
And then that's what he tells him. So Whitaker has his second big rant.
Yes, that's right.
Moment.
Yeah.
And then the father hides as Lee Emery and a bunch of other soldiers come in.
Yeah.
They're going to take him and make him go to sleep.
Yeah.
And rather than being taken, Whitaker blows his brains out.
Yeah.
Cuts to the father comes back picks up Anwar and the son.
Yeah.
And says, I have a plan. We've got to act emotionless.
Yes.
And we're going to get off the base. So they take a jeep and they drive off the base.
That's it.
At another point, they're trying to... The male lead, who's the lost boy guy...
Yeah.
His best friend tries to, same thing, take him over. Because he's hearing all this commotion.
That's right, yeah.
He wakes up and...
Says that's gunfire. That's real gunfire.
We gotta go. And they're like, no. And they try to overpower him.
Yeah.
Punches his way up.
Yeah.
Runs. Meanwhile, the father's acting kind of odd, saying, I know what to do.
Yeah.
And he's either trying to be blend in by not showing emotion, but the Gabriel Anwar character just twigs that he's one of them.
Yeah.
Grabs the wheel of the Jeep with him, causes it to...
But there's a bit, isn't it, where she's just watching him in the Jeep, and as he's driving, he just looks like he's not...
He's just like, with it. Like, he's not giving her any...
No.
So she's 100% convinced based on this.
Yeah.
Even though her father could have been method.
Yeah.
That he's up to that. So she pulls the Jeep over, she grabs the son, runs into the male lead, who says... And she screams, he's got a gun.
Yeah.
And she says, that's not my dad. She grabs the gun and shoots him.
Yeah. And
he falls over dead. And the guy goes, what the fuck do you do? So that's not him.
Yeah.
And then he turns over the body and it crumbles.
Yes.
So if you shoot the duplicates, they crumble for some reason.
Yeah.
And so...
I would have loved it if that wasn't actually a duplicate.
Yeah, that should have been... Yeah.
That would have been a bit of a fuck moment. Because it was actually his dad.
Yeah.
Because he had that estranged relationship with her anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
I would have just thought that would have been quite a cool way to play that.
Good territory.
That you can't actually tell. Anyway.
And then so they go driving off to an airport hangar.
Yeah.
Says, I'm going to take my helicopter.
Yeah.
You wait here. It's too dangerous if you come to me to the helicopter.
Yeah.
I don't know where that logic came from.
I don't know.
Because what? And so he goes to the helicopter and he knows now to act emotionless because his best friend comes.
Yeah.
A bunch of guys and said, okay, we're going to take over now.
Yeah.
It's already happened.
Yeah.
I'm being told to get in the air so we can find more people.
Yeah.
He does it well enough that the best friend believes him.
Yeah.
Because the best friend says, oh yeah? Well, I fucked your girlfriend.
That's
trying
right.
to provoke an emotional response. Which is pretty lame.
Yeah.
Because if the guy knows he's fighting for his life, he's not going to show anything.
No, that's right.
What kind of an emotional is like? It's a real Guardian of the Galaxy moment where freaking Chris Pratt's character destroys the world because he thinks his girlfriend's been killed.
Yeah.
Big picture stuff, dude. And so they believe him, let him go. And unfortunately, because he left Gabriel and one of the kid in the car, they get captured just as he takes
that's right.
And so he takes the helicopter off. He sees them being taken away to a hospital barrack. And so what they're doing is they're taking the remaining survivors in a hospital, making them sleep with injections.
That's right. Now they're getting serious.
Yeah. And so he goes and lands, infiltrates his way in to find her.
Yeah.
Does find her being absorbed, and her duplicate wakes up.
Yeah.
Naked.
Boobs.
Which, you know, for 20-year-old me, dude.
Man.
Dude. Yeah.
Even now, mate.
Yeah. Sorry. Harvey Weinstein, I know. He woke. But she says, she turns and she recognizes him. She can talk, she's articulate, she's actually fully...
Yeah.
And says, if you do this, you'll kill me. Or something. Well, you've effectively formed your talking, so her real bodies should be gone by now. They decide not to. And, well, a commotion happens where somebody fights.
Yeah, that's right.
All the doctors and nurses run off, so he's alone effectively with her.
Yeah.
So he ends up pulling the tendrils off.
Yeah.
The actual prone real body.
Yeah.
Which kills the clone. And for some reason, Gabrielle Anwar's, even though she's, I would say, and if you think of it as a rendering, copying process, she's 99% done.
Yeah.
But the original copy would be 1% alive.
Yes.
But no, that's enough to wake up, she's still alive.
Yeah.
And you get that. So they run out with her. He tells her that she's got to act emotionless.
Yeah. I actually quite like this next bit.
Yeah, and she's unsteady on her feet.
The way it's done.
The way it's done. It is done. I don't remember, this is the first time it's the first time I've seen.
Yeah.
And they do the are they moment
really
well.
Yeah.
So they're walking amongst the base. She says, I need to find my brother. He rightly says, it's probably best if we leave and come back with armed forces. I mean, if they leave the brother, he's dead. But His big picture stuff is just like, I risked my life coming to find you. I'm not going to do anything for the brother. Meanwhile, Lee Emery's literally telling trucks, as trucks drive past him, that truck goes to Fort Wayne.
Yeah. That's it.
I don't know who he's telling, because he's not telling the drivers, because they're going past, but he's just saying, that truck's going there, that truck's going there.
It's a mental note to himself.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
And then she bumps into the general's daughter, the punk-haired girl with the short blonde hair.
That's it.
And they look at each other, and they're testing each other out.
Yeah.
And like, crazy night, huh? Yeah. And then the blonde girl says, I've seen your brother. And it really does come across as I'm one of you.
Yeah.
And and they decide to be cool about it. And the guy says, "Look, we've got work to do," and they just keep moving on.
Yeah, yeah.
And Gabrielle Anwar keeps walking on, and she breaks at the last second and says, "Where?"
That's the bit I love. It's just timed really well
Yeah,
because you think they're going to keep walking, and it's right that last second.
Yeah,
she turns around.
It says where, and it is a test.
Yeah,
the blonde girl's been taken over.
Yeah,
and she points and screams.
Yeah,
and it's a really it's good.
Yeah,
just as good as the Donald Pleasance reveal, and it's good. And they run, they jump in a helicopter. He gives her a gun. And a gun to sort of hold them off.
But the ending's such a womp. But carry on.
And then the little boy runs up through the crowd and jumps on the helicopter and goes, "Oh wow, you escaped!" How did he escape?
Yeah.
And they take off. And a helicopter from a standing start to an actually fully flighted moment takes some time.
Yeah.
More than 8 bullets, which is what was in her gun. But it happens. They take off, and then the boy, of course, is one of them.
Yeah.
And attacks her, attacks him, and he says, "That's not your brother." And she has to throw him out of the helicopter. Yeah. And it's a really bad effect.
It's such a terrible effect.
As the boy goes screaming as he gets being thrown out.
We're not talking Hans McGruber falling from the top of the building effect. We're talking a really dodgy, ropey version of that.
Yeah, green screen effect.
Yeah.
It doesn't fall right. And the boy's pointing and screaming.
Yeah.
Boom. So, and then the epilogue is they go back and...
You get the voiceover narration, her voiceover narration. Yeah.
Which again is harker back to the first film.
Yes, that's right.
And they do what I guess you assume the FBI did in the first film, which is they intercept the trucks.
Yeah.
In his case, because the guy is flying a helicopter armed with missiles.
Yeah.
Shoots them.
Yes.
And blows them all up to hell. And so they say they technically win the war as well because they stop the infection before it spreads. But then they land, and it's this weird close-up on the guy who's got the paddles telling to land the helicopter.
Yeah, that's right.
It just has Meg Tilly's voiceover saying, "Where you gonna go?
Where are you gonna go?
Yeah.
Where are you gonna run?"
Because he's not going to fight you, implying that it didn't matter.
No.
So that's the end of that film. I enjoyed it when I first saw it.
I see this thing, right? Okay, when I first watched it, I don't know when I would have watched it, but it was a long while ago, and I do remember enjoying it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I clicked watching 78 over this one or not. I don't know. I can't place that in my journey of discovering these films. But I remember watching it, and Gabrielle Anwar, that to me was.
And Claire Filani is Joyce.
Yeah. So it was, to me, that it was hitting that age. But like as I grew older, I just was like, my memory of it was, I don't remember it being as good as I probably thought it was.
Yeah.
And so when I rewatched it recently, that was confirmed. And so I was like, but yeah, look, what stood out with Meg Tilly again. I was like, I'd forgotten she was in it, and I was like, oh, she's so good. She's great. Like, she's a really good actress.
Yeah.
And that was confirmed to me. So there was pockets in there, but I still feel like it's the weaker of the three.
Yeah, you could.
Like, I know you might not see it.
No, I think all three have their pluses and minuses, but.
They suit their time period, though. That's the thing. They're born of that time. So I guess before we bow out, because there are talks of a remake going.
Effectively a fifth one, although officially it'll be the fourth.
Yeah. So being a creative and a filmmaker, how would you pitch like that for today? Like you go.
I would talk about
today's setting.
The division of America right now.
Yeah.
Between right and the left, it's such a divided. Country. It was during the George Bush era. It was through the Obama era.
Yeah.
It's more so now with the Trump era. And I think you would play up on that.
Yeah.
The differences between us.
Yes.
And the differences in those philosophies.
Yeah.
I mean, you make it hella controversial.
Yeah, of course.
The whole thing of but you won't even do it we are the same. We're both trying to want the same thing, which is the survival of our species.
Yeah.
I would probably make it about that. Definitely play, if you can, more on the "Are you or aren't you?"
Yeah, I think that's
the
been
beauty
missing.
of that moment from when the blonde girls screams at Gabrielle Anwar, 90th film version, and the end for Donald Sutherland version. I've talked about this. Like, the Thing was really good at that, but it could have been pushed even more.
Yeah.
Of and the Thing does it well. Like with the whole I ain't going with Giles. I'm going with Winders. Fuck you, man. It just sets everybody up. More of that. Just you can't trust anybody.
No.
You can really psychologically just play off with just great acting and great writing.
I agree.
Make it intense.
Yeah.
I think you do it that way. But yeah, that's what you make that analogy of and it's, because terrorists live amongst us now, right?
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, and there could be anyone in
activated cells and so on and so forth. And again, that was the science of it all. It's like the best terrorist or the best assassin is somebody that doesn't know who they are until they are activated. So you could make it very relevant. But today, I mean, we're skipping over the 2007 sort of, not really a remake.
Yeah.
Which it is.
Well, you want to have a few words on that, or
I found it from the mechanical point of view, the science was different.
Yeah.
It was interesting. The fact that at the end of the day they have to be emotionless. It was like, oh, that's the same. I've seen that before.
Yeah.
And the fact that they won in the end.
Yes.
It was a bit of a cop out.
Yeah.
It's a weak film.
Yeah.
Considering you got A-League hitters.
Yeah, well, that's
Nicole Kidman and Daniel Craig.
Bond.
And also the feel of it was a drab film.
Yeah, that's the thing I remember more so about it.
The colour palette was really drab.
Yeah.
And not that it has to be bright or whatever. But,
no.
But it'd be interesting. I think you would take the best elements of the thing as well as
I agree with that.
Which is paranoia.
Yeah. Of course, I don't know how I'm going to segue this into this, but it got me thinking of Get Out as well. Yeah. Because of the whole kind of, I know that's not seed people, but it's taking over bodies and and I know that's people's personalities going into it and taking over the body, but it's that same kind of thing of trying to conform a society in a certain
way. But also too, the beauty of Get Out was like they were a lovely family.
Yeah.
They were so lovely. If I could have voted for Obama the third term, I would have.
Yeah.
They were lovely to him.
Yeah.
Perfectly fine, rich people.
Yeah.
They were totally on the up. But just unnerved until the shit kicked off. Something wasn't right.
Yeah, that's right. And that's kind of like, so something with that kind of tone to it
I think
would really work.
Yeah.
It'd be really kind of cool to see something like that play out.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, I think that kind of will tie us up in one way, shape, or form on our look at the Body Snatchers.
Yeah, a lot of jokes. No, yes,
of the Body Snatchers movies, So I kind of would say, I generally would say, go if you haven't seen them, go check them out. Like,
absolutely,
they are worth at least a one watch viewing. And you may have your favourites. Mine's clearly the '78 version. But other people may disagree. So let us know your thoughts on that one.
Yeah.
But all good. That, as I said, we're doing this in honour of the fact that it's been 40 years since the '78 version has come out, and it still stands to this day. I feel, that's been our journey through those 3 films, all stand on the rails, and they're born of their time, and they've gone through it.
Body Snatchers,
exactly.
Body Snatchers.
That's right, and then of the
next one.
All good. So thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoyed our discussions on that. If you had any thoughts on these films, or you've got any alternate views on them, just hit us up. Let us know which ones were your favourite. If you could take it in a different direction, what would you do with it? Until then, I'm your host Saul Muerte, and I'm joined by the Big Cheese, Anthony Yee.
See you, bye.
Listening to the Surgeons of Horror podcast. Music supplied by Peter Nezik. For more discussions or podcasts, head over to surgeonsofhorror.com or head over to our Facebook and Twitter sites for the latest news and updates.